Hello, everyone. We are back.
Hi
Welcome.
guys.
Hi. Hello.
Hi
So,
Veronika.
hi, Michael. Welcome back again.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful to have you again, especially for the discussion we have today. Um, I thought it would be very insightful to ask you also about the experience you have regarding the language barrier struggle. This is one of the biggest struggles that couple has to overcome. So I would like you to share your thoughts. But first off, let's start with a what do you think about interpreter service when the girl uh, meets the potential husband? What do you think about interpreter roles, and uh, what are your thoughts?
Veronika, with very few exceptions, having a third person at the meeting or just having somebody else but you and your woman, or if you are a woman, you and your man, is not a good idea. Uh, the dynamic that is there at the meeting when it's just two people, it's different. And this third person can actually even be somebody you like, but it's still the way the things you will say, the things you will do are going to be different. And that's why I personally don't recommend our clients to use an interpreter. I am the interpreter in our agency, so I translate at the meetings when it's needed. But I can tell you that comparing to 20 years ago when we just began working and almost nobody spoke English at the time, nowadays, luckily, almost all the girls speak on some level of English. And important thing, if
Mm-hmm.
a person wants something, there is always a way to get there. And if a girl likes you, believe me, she's not going to want and need anybody but you at the meeting. She's and nowadays Google Translate. There are so many online these applications, all this stuff. But most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
if a person wants you, if a person likes you, there is no obstacle that is impossible to overcome. And I'm not saying this just as a theory, because I can give you names and show you the pictures of the couples who, when they met, they literally had to translate almost everything but they did it themselves. They were not, they didn't shy off this struggle. And you said it very correctly when you were asking me a question. It's a struggle that the couple overcomes. It's beautiful. This struggle it makes the right people come closer to each other. So my personal advice, and that's what I recommend to our clients, is not to have me. So normally I just introduce a woman and a man to each other, and I just leave. That's what normally happens.
Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting concept, because most of the or shall I say somewhat unusual from my experience, because as far as I hear from my clients, a lot of times there is a translator, and sometimes people are disappointed because they never get the a little bit of an intimate environment, and so you can actually connect, because intimate environment requires two people. We are not talking about specifically something very physical, but something when you open up, something when you are not seen by other people, and you just have your natural flow. You just in the moment. Usually if when couple really enjoying each other, they don't really need a witness.
Do you remember when we were teenagers, somebody would have a birthday, and sometimes a parent would stay at home to kind of observe the most terrible thing. Nothing could be worse than that. And not because we were going to do something naughty and crazy, just, it doesn't feel right. You know, it's not the right thing to do. You know, you are an outsider, a parent in this situation, or a translator or interpreter in that situation. You are somebody from outside. And if this is imposed, if this is imposed on a person,
Mm-hmm.
like it's mandatory, I doubt the intentions, because in our agency we don't charge for the translations, so a man can have me as the interpreter whenever he wants, but we don't charge it. It doesn't matter if I'm with him 5 hours a day or 3 hours a day. It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow.
We don't charge anything for that. But that's my friendly advice. If there is future for the couple, they have to find a way to communicate without anybody's help. If there is future, because okay, so how it's going to develop if you can't overcome such a such a thing as language barrier? You have to try to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. That is an excellent point. When you do feel that connection, so I believe, once again, when you meet somebody special, you don't say, oh, I just meet this American, or because that's not it's becoming non-important. It's not you feel that you met somebody who you connecting with, even with all the obstacles, but it's just there. And so that just become a common goal to start understanding each other. And for those also ladies who decide, oh, I feel more protected with an interpreter, they also don't realize that the man may have more chemistry with interpreter. This is just the reality. I actually have personal friends.
Never happened with me. Let me put it this way. Never happened with me.
You aren't cute enough, so.
Yeah,
No, you are the wrong design. You're definitely you are protected. But I actually have friends here in Ann Arbor area. There is a Russian community here, and I know at least a handful of girls that married their client. They were translating, they have no intentions whatsoever to do that, but what was happening is that they had more chemistry with him, and they were able to communicate their thoughts. And so definitely the intimacy for sure did not happen between the original girl and the client. And it's not because the client was, inappropriate. It just, they didn't have the atmosphere. Maybe they were not the right match. But definitely, as a girl, as a woman, you don't want to sit there. I'm just sharing from the woman's perspective and thinking, okay, is he connecting with her better? Because 3 is an odd number, you don't want to think. And so you basically don't give it a chance in a way. And I already made videos about it, and I shared that it's okay if you go fun somewhere as friends, but when you have dinner or tea together, you really want that intimacy. And the last thing that girl wants to do is she wants to sit there and guess, okay, is he talking to her and look at her the most time because she knows the language, or maybe now he likes you better. And sometimes you can't help it because you connect with people who making an effort to talk to you. So the interpreter basically take your talents and your skills to be creative and overcome the challenge, and she represents them. So men, even subconsciously, may feel closer to the interpreter.
I actually tell my clients, actually both male and female, not to even look at me if I'm translating. Seriously, and I kid you not, I tell them, and this is actual words, I say, I'm just a tool here, in a good way. Imagine I'm just a Google Translate that is alive. I don't want to be, I also teach English university level. I have some experience, with English on academic level. I speak pretty good English. I can, come I can translate pretty well. So it's enough for me not to use too much gestures and, take too much time to translate things. And I try, even though I'm there and I'm translating, I try not to be a part of this. If a guy asks a girl, what is the distance between Kharkiv and Kiev? I will never answer this question. I will translate this to her so that she can answer it. And if she doesn't know and he asks me, only in that case I'm going to answer this, because it's rude to step out of these boundaries. I'm just an interpreter. I'm not a side of this meeting. There is a man and a woman, that's it. And if I have to be there, I make sure that I'm as invisible as possible.
Yeah, well, that is an interesting concept as well. It must be a little challenging too, because we tend to make want to make eye contact.
Yeah, I understand, and I tell guys and I tell girls, don't even look at me. I'm not here. I'm just
Mm-hmm. But do you only do that if people say, hey, we're really nervous, could you support us like at the first meeting?
It's very rare, Veronika. It's so rare nowadays. I mean,
good.
I see meetings where a girl speaks very, very limited English. But after I give our clients my points, I explain where I come from. I just explain it's beneficial for you to give it a try, because if it doesn't work for a couple of hours, how is it going to work down the road? You have to try. But of course, sometimes, for example, when everything goes really great and, people decide to, for example, apply for a K1 visa, I'm asked to come to translate some very specific things that need to be understood 100%. But other than that, that's literally what I say. This is the phrase I say to guys. I say, look, it's not a business meeting. It doesn't matter if it's going to last 10 or 20 minutes longer. You are in no rush. Take your time. Don't feel like you have to understand every single word, because the entire world depends on it. Just enjoy yourself. Take it easy.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's fun too. It's fun. When you don't understand the language, it's fun. You can, goof around, and it's cool.
Yes, if you have the right attitude, if you are even built for the international relationships like this, then you will find it as a challenge, but you will also have fun with it. I suggest if you go from meeting in person, then you go to emails, that's my experience. Be very careful with jokes and figures of speech, because this is where troubles come sometimes, even though you think that, we know each other, we can just goof around and but when you do it in person, you say something, you have a smile and you laugh, right? And when you do it through email, I just consulted a couple last week that they were almost on breaking point, because they were strongly showing their emotions in the letter, but in fact the intentions were strong, but the feelings were still lighthearted, but both of them felt threatened by that. And I know this client really well, so I've actually told him we need to talk immediately, because sometimes it's not only the language barrier, but that's a mentality barrier.
100%.
And people are vulnerable. A lot of my clients already been through the divorce, so they already been, they've been through life challenges. It's mostly for people who are, mature, and sometimes you have a little bit of anxiety, even though you have chemistry, you have trust, but it's a big major step. So my only advice would be joke in person, laugh in person, get to know, maybe even on Skype or video platform, but with emails, try to stick with what you know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Michael?
Also, sometimes, things, if you translate with Google, for example, we often say in English, I can't wait to meet you, right? So if you translate that from English to Russian or Ukrainian using Google Translate, it means literally, I cannot wait to meet you. It means I'm not going to wait to meet you. And there are things like, and I understand that being bilingual, it's very easy for us, for you and for me to understand those things, but not knowing Russian, it's challenging. So but with a bit of patience, and you can figure it out. With jokes, it seems to me that there are more sensitive topics in in Ukrainian cultures than there are in American culture. Like the jokes we make in Ukrainian culture, they should never be about death. Very, very rarely very rarely you can make a joke about somebody getting hurt or dying or something like that. Where I think in American culture it's a little bit different. It sometimes seems to me, and you should never make jokes about relatives, especially like it's not like I have an example in my mind, but you have to be careful when you talk about especially older generation. People here, they tend normally have huge respect for their parents, and they are not just respected, they are precious. Every time I see my mom, I give her a kiss. So if somebody makes a joke about my mom, it doesn't feel good, to say the least. So, but I think in American culture, it's probably the same. But it's sometimes, in correspondence, I also translate letters. I sometimes tell guys, that's a little inappropriate.
Yes, I definitely agree. I feel that Americans sometimes, could be just totally fooling, just totally kidding about something serious. And this is where the major misunderstanding, the person may just get hurt, and it can go as far as breaking up the relationship. As I just mentioned, with some of my clients, it goes from 0 to 100, when, because the person, we all have some hidden traumas. Maybe you joke about somebody dying, especially in this time, it's absolutely awful. But we also have some past traumas, some hidden things that we don't even think about, but accidentally, it can happen, and it can be incredible damaging, could be even unreversible. So just make sure when you write letters, if your language is not that advanced, the best thing to do is keep the letters precise, short and sweet, not too many graphic details. I don't know why guys sometimes wanna do the graphic things, like that is kind of the growth factor. Keeps it to yourself. She doesn't need to know how many times you've been to the bathroom today. I don't know, Americans just very outgoing, and they're not shy to say these things, but we are okay without knowing that. So keep the fun stuff, the jokes, the laughter, when you see each other, either on video or in person.
Absolutely. We perceive the information most of the time not in the verbal way, and that's why it's so much easier. The most difficult thing to do is to speak somebody on the phone where you don't see a person. So speaking on Skype or speaking on Zoom, like Veronika and I are doing right now, it's much easier. And the best thing is to speak with somebody in person, because you can see the entire body. This is the way dogs understand us. We use the way we speak and the way we move. We can say the nastiest, the meanest things to them in a gentle voice, and they will think we are commanding them. We are saying what a wonderful boys or girls they are. So it's similar. So if you are talking especially on the phone, you have to be very careful. She can't see you.
Yes. And I had somebody also commenting, one of my longtime subscribers commenting yesterday, sort of in a frustration mode about, and he mentioned that it's very difficult to create connection over with the language barrier, and what he meant is that when you don't meet the person first, when you start to the online correspondence, and I don't necessarily know what websites or what he has been doing, but I understand him perfectly. He feels that it's so hard. It's like this huge obstacle, and to some degree, personally, I can relate to this, because you don't have the personal touch. You do not have the general feeling of the person, of their body language, of their energy, like even on the video you look certain way, you smile, you can be very inviting, or you can be very cold and distant, but of course in person that is everything. And so what would you tell to guys, maybe maybe these are the kind of guys that need to go and meet girls in person first? What do you think?
Veronika, I firmly believe, and 20 years after we started working, I firmly believe that the model that we are using in our work is the best approach, because it guarantees that only a man who has good leads, you can say so, good potential comes to Ukraine. So basically it works this way. A guy introduces himself to girls to see who is interested and who is not. Girls who are interested, they respond, they start talking, there is some communication. Normally it's about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. During this communication, I strongly recommend to guys to send pictures with every letter you send. And with the phones and with the smartphones, with the cameras, it became so easy. And you should always keep in mind, what is usual, what is regular for you is not regular, is not usual for her. Especially if, for example, if you live in a little town and you say, look, honey, I live in a place where there is 5,000 people. In Ukraine, if you live in a place where there is 5,000 people, you are done. This is it. This is the end of the road. Normally, it's a terrible, terrible place. So she, by sending pictures with every letter, you give her so much to talk about with you, to ask you, to understand you better. Take pictures of yourself in front of things, take pictures of things, make videos. We are blessed and cursed by the technology. So use the blessings, use those blessings. They are there in your hands. And so when guys come over here after a couple of months to meet the girl, meet the women, they talk, they're meeting somebody they already know to a certain extent. Before that, they spoke on Skype. They have shared numerous pictures, videos. They meeting not a stranger, and it makes it so much easier to build a relationship. And normally, guys can only come for, I don't know, a week or 10 days. You don't have that much time. So you basically, we believe it's a good idea that you start the relationship even before you came to Ukraine. So I think, I think this is a good idea.
Do they are they free to video chat and do things like that?
We encourage our clients to have Skype calls. It's an awesome idea. Of course, it puts you out of the comfort zone naturally, but guys, you are embarking on a very unusual journey. There aren't that many people who marry somebody from abroad. It's not and fortune favors the bold. Guys, you have to get out of this comfort zone. And I understand that it may not be, may not be something you've done before, but I definitely we encourage guys to do it.
Yes, and I think it is. It gives you much better connection with the person. You can just get the feel of a person much better through the video and things like that. And yes, when you make your letters interesting, when you start, when you add a picture or particular thing, it is because you have to remember it's not just the language barriers that we are all afraid so much of, but it's also mentality barrier. Michael, I was trying not to laugh because I actually live in a town that is 5,000 people. I have a lot more subscribers than people in my town, but it doesn't limit me in any way. And now when I come to visit Kiev, I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't understand where all these people are coming from and why I can have no privacy. And it feels awful at times. Like, I love to be in a big house. I like to have, you know, some space, and it takes 20 minutes to get to the big town. So once you have this experience yourself, you probably will like it. But you, the more transparent you are and the better you explain things, then you will have better conversations, and she can satisfy her curiosity by, oh wow, you have this big beautiful yard, you have these roses, you have river right next to you. It's kind of like a beautiful version of dacha, you know, like we have dacha, cottage house sort of, I would say, but my subscribers know I hope what dacha is. So, and people in Kiev or Kharkiv, even in other places, what do they do in summer if they have dacha?
They go to dacha.
They just go to dacha. But usually this dacha, you know, usually American kind of dacha, it's a really nice, well-built house, and you have your privacy, and everybody has a car. So they got in the car, in 20 minutes, you are where everything is.
Guys, 100%, Veronika, what you're saying, I'm repeating myself. What seems to be obvious to you may not be at all obvious to a woman. So when you talking about the little town or something else, generally, I'm a big fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson. And he says, truth is the antidote to hell. So when we say the truth, when we share the truth, it makes our world, our life better. Be truthful, show things the way they are. Of course, you don't need to take pictures in your underwear or things like that. So it has to be, you have to strive to be better, 100%, but you should be showing this to her. And Ukrainian women, at least the women who come to our agency, they're looking for a man, from the, you know, capital M. So a man can take care of her in a way that only a man can. And I'm not talking about, you know, buying gifts, something we spoke about in our previous video. A man is a creature that feels warm and soft when he has to feel warm and soft, and it feels very strong when he has to be strong. So guys, it's up to you to learn how to, you know, how to be this man. And I'm sure most of you guys don't have problem with that. It's just, you know, you need to show it. You need to show that, you know, you're a stable guy. You are not an alcoholic. You are not a crazy gambler and stuff like that. That you have a normal life.
Yeah, but don't mention that in the letters though, because if you write, "Oh, I'm not crazy, I'm not an alcoholic," you'll be like, "Oh wow." Well, you show that. You show that just with things you do, the positive things you share about yourself.
Absolutely. My dad always says. My father always says, if a person says, "I'm not a fool," very often, it means he has serious doubts about that.
Right. That's why I want to make sure that guys, oh, so I need to write, "Hi, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not a loser, I'm not jobless." No, it just, she will presume this on how you represent yourself. And I think probably the language barrier is a major issue for somebody who is not available to travel, who is not able to travel soon enough. And I think honestly the language barrier often is not actually the language barrier, but that you're talking with the people who are not genuine, and they, maybe you meet them on paper letter websites. You know, I'm not gonna call on anybody, but I'm just saying general, because it's a business that's actually not interested for you to go there. They're making money. Even if you meet somebody, they're making money before you go there. So their goal is to keep you there, so you keep talking and you feel frustrated because you may not get the result or connection with a lady, or she doesn't want to jump on and talk with you face to face like this, I feel that part of the frustration of thinking that, oh, this language barrier, it will never work, is possibly that you talking to wrong ladies.
Guys, if you know, how to say, women who are serious about finding a man, she's not going to talk through emails with you for half a year or endless. I mean, there are different circumstances. And for example, we had guys who were going to come in April to Kharkiv, and now they have to wait. And of course, they have no choice. Of course, they will continue talking to the women they've been talking to. They're not going to just abandon them because they have communication and they've been talking for some time. But normally, I already told Veronika, we have some good news. Apparently on the 15th of June, they're going to allow the international flights to Ukraine, but let's see what's going to happen. But normally, this communication before the personal meeting, it lasts for about 2, maybe 2.5, maybe 3 months. And after that, you have to meet in person. Because there is there are levels. There are levels that, and when you reach a certain level, it's never enough. You have to go up. So you establish, you have to go up.
Yes, you take it to the higher level, and that's what really gives you answers. Because, you know, when you meet the woman in person, yes, they may be, it's challenging. Don't get me wrong. It's been a long time since I've had challenges speaking because of, you know, living here and just learning language early on. But sometimes you travel to another country where they speak different English than languages than English. So you try to be creative and find a way and talk to them. And from my experience and observing the clients who are happy with their results, I feel that there is so much more than verbal language, because when you meet a person, you just also feel in their body language, in their expressions, in their energy feel, their emotions toward you. If they're open, if they feel comfortable in your presence, if they, you know, lenient toward you, these are the things. Sometimes I feel that 90% of communication in terms of compatibility is non-verbal.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, Veronika, I think, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I've heard, you will be judged to this, a woman can decide whether she likes a man or not within less than a minute. I'm not talking about whether she likes his personality, because she knows nothing about his personality. We, as creatures, we are designed to create babies. And when we look at the person of the opposite sex, we evaluate this person as a potential mother or a father of your children. And apparently, I've heard, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but apparently they say that women have a very, it happens very quickly. It's in the subconscious. She looks at the guy, she knows, okay, this guy, he looks healthy, he looks strong enough to protect me. Because when a woman is pregnant, of course, she's weak in the nature, you know, she's weak. And when she has babies, she's weak, and the babies are weak. They need protection. So I don't think you need many years or many months to understand whether you like each other or not. But really, you have to figure out how much in common do you have, because you can be attracted to each other like crazy, but if you have completely different ideas about life, it's not gonna work.
And so this is you take and this is where you take this as a challenge. So if initially you have chemistry and you enjoy each other, you know, physically, on emotional level, on how it feels to be next to each other, so this is where you have that initial connection, initial interest, and attraction to start the journey of overcoming the language. And guys, also remember that you are not it's not forbidden for you as well to try to learn some of the phrases and words, and then you will understand how difficult that really is. You know, sometimes people make fun of somebody's accent, or you say the wrong word, and it happens sometimes. You know, similar words have different meanings, but when you try to just say hello and how you doing and it's a nice day in Russian or Ukrainian, you will have compassion and empathy to your lady, and that could be a very uniting journey. It can also help you how compatible you are in terms of your personalities, how much patience you have. Do you agree?
Let me tell you a joke about accents in English. I hope it's not going to be offensive. I'm sorry if I offend somebody. So a guy from Britain comes to United States, and he's somewhere in the US driving his rented car, like speeding big time. And so the police officer stops him, and he sees it's a rented car, and he sees the driving license is not American. So he understands that this guy is from abroad. He's from Britain, and he says, "Did you come here to die?" And he says, "No, yesterday."
Yes, they have such same language but a different accent. Oh my God, that is pretty cool. I don't think anybody be offensive, but this is just a different accent, same language.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
different accent. So I really liked, we're gonna wrap it up with this. I really liked when you hopped in last minute on the show, when you mentioned that this is not just, you know, her struggle. This is their journey of discovering each other, and this is couples' way to connect, and it could be exciting. And I thought that was an interesting outlook rather than just painted in like a negative thing.
No, it's fun. It's fun.
You always be surprised.
Well, of course, there's so many things, and it's so cute when I speak to couples who've been married for a few years, when he uses the Russian words or Ukrainian words, and there is no way. Of course, you're gonna have to learn some Russian words when you're married to a Ukrainian woman, or Ukrainian language or Russian language. It depends on which region. We are in Kharkiv, and everybody here speaks Russian. That's why I say Russian. But I also speak Ukrainian because that's by default. Everybody speaks Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because we studied in school and such. Yes, so it really depends on your attitude. It's definitely a challenge. But when you have something so high value that have such a tremendous impact on your life, you might consider taking on and put some effort into it.
Absolutely. It's very cute. If you it shows her, your commitment, and it's kind of fair. If she's learning your language, why don't you learn her language? And it's a very cute thing to do. When you are trying to learn her language, it's like girls in Ukraine are absolutely crazy about guys who know how to cook. So if you want to do something, if you have some spare time on your hands, learn 10, 15 nice recipes if you don't know them yet, and it's gonna help you so much, and you will have something to talk about. You say, look, today I cooked this. And generally eating processed food or junk food in Ukraine is very frowned upon. If you eat stuff like that, it's not just about the food, it's about the way you treat yourself. So in Ukraine, people make food from scratch. It means you start with nothing, just ingredients, and then an hour later you have a beautiful dish. So you don't have to become Gordon Ramsay, but it's not gonna hurt. So it's similar to Russian language.
Mm-hmm. That's the best language. Yes, I have to absolutely back up Michael on that, because Ukrainian and Russian women, they are, it's like an Afro zodiac or something. If you can cook, and if you love doing it, then 50% of your misunderstanding is solved.
Yes.
That is true. That is definitely an attraction, because I feel that traditionally it's been so much of the woman responsibility in Ukrainian culture, and some, you know, ladies just kind of feel they feel special and spoiled and loved and cared for, because that is a creation that you're making for her. And I don't know, it just better than any pills that you can take, if you know what I mean.
No, of course.
It works.
It's like I don't know how much. We probably don't have a lot of time this time, but watching a big, strong, masculine man doing such a cute scene and such a, you can say, feminine scene, creating, nurturing. There is something very special about it, because when you see a monster, you know, painting the skies with the rainbows, it just there is some beautiful paradox in this. It's a beautiful paradox. A man is not, as you said, it may not be the by design. The men didn't cook; they hunted, probably. So it's just a very interesting thing to observe, and girls really love that.
Yes, all right, that was an excellent touch. It's like it's a little extra to the topic, which we basically given you away all the secrets how to win her heart, and I hope that you will use it for good purpose only. This is so very true. It's really great to have two perspectives, you know, my as a female and Michael as a man. So it just adds and it reassures everything he says. It's reassuring for me, and I can definitely relate with the female part. So you better be listening, you better be taking notes. Put some comments below. If you have any questions or comments to me or to Michael, I will post some information about how you can connect with Michael as well. We appreciate his time and sharing his experiences today. And what would you like to say before I stop the show?
Guys, it's all in your hands. It's all in your hands, and there is no woman wants to be with a weak man. And who is a weak man? A weak man is the man who blames others.
All right, you hit the nail on the head on this one. I totally agree. A strong man takes responsibility and pursuing what he really wants. Thank you so very much, everybody, and we will see you very soon. Thank you.